All right, welcome, Heidi.
Okay, thanks for having me, Morgan.
Yeah, how's it going?
Oh, it's going.
Busy?
Yes, very
Are your
busy.
kids in school, or do you homeschool, or?
So our little boy, who's 7, is finally getting to go to school in person, and he's had some serious medical stuff that's kept him out for the past few years. And he's so pumped. Yeah, he gets to
Sweet.
ride his bike home from school
Yep.
at Fairview Elementary, and he's just loving it. Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, serious enthusiasm every time. Yeah, I hope he
Yeah.
keeps it. Yeah.
That was one of the big reasons we wanted to stay here was kids could walk home from school and, they still never did. They always wanted to be picked up as
Really?
lazy bums, but either way, that's what they wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So,
Slidell is a very extroverted, physical guy. So yeah,
sweet.
he's soaking it up.
And then you just have one kid, or do you have?
So I also have a 14-year-old daughter, but
Okay.
she is back in California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Sweet. And so let's just start with how you grew up.
Well, I had a pretty unconventional upbringing. My dad's a musician, and he's one of the 2 songwriters for a band called Supertramp. And I was born on the first day of the Breakfast in America tour by accident. It wasn't meant to happen that way. But I came early and surprised everybody. And so I spent my early years touring with him and did a lot of traveling. We had a base in California and then his family in England. And so we kind of traveled back and forth. I was homeschooled primarily. Then my parents started a charter co-op kind of with 12 other families. And that was a really amazing experience.
Yeah.
I think we did that for 4 years. I did a little bit of public school, and then I went to boarding school for high school.
Oh,
And
where was your boarding school at?
In Pebble Beach, California.
Oh, okay.
Robert Louis Stevenson. It was
How far away from your house was that?
5 hours.
Okay, so a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I would go months without seeing my folks. And I don't know, I felt like I had a lot of richness in my childhood from the travel and a lot of varied and amazing experiences, but there wasn't a whole lot of structure. And I
Right.
was really craving structure and discipline and a higher level of academic experience, I guess, and social experience. And I just wanted to push myself a little bit. The irony is my dad had a pretty rough experience at boarding school, and one of his most popular songs is about how bad that was. And he was like, "Have
And he
you
still
even
was like,
listened
"You go
to
do
the
it."
logical song? What are you doing to me?" But I loved it. It was the making of me. It was an amazing experience. And
Do you remember much about like being on tour and traveling around and stuff?
yeah.
How old were you when you stopped doing that?
So I can remember back to being 1 year old, 1 year. So I've got a pretty strong memory
Yeah.
of my childhood. But when I was 7, my dad suffered a catastrophic accident.
Oh.
We had a little cottage, way out in the woods. And
In California?
mhm.
Okay.
And we had a sleeping loft. It was very rustic, and there was no railing. It was just a ladder that went up to the sleeping loft. Anyways, my dad woke up early. The alarm went off at like 4 a.m. And he got up and he didn't remember where he was. And he walked off the edge. It was a brick floor. So he fell 15 feet head first with his arms out. He shattered both arms up to his elbows and half his left side of his face. I was 7, and my mom and I had to lift him into our Chevy pickup and make the journey to the hospital, and it was really rough. He had to have, massive reconstructive surgeries and years of therapies. The doctors said he would never play an instrument again, and they weren't sure if he'd be able to sing because of the damage to his
Wow.
face and sinus cavity. So it changed the course of his career.
Yeah.
Amazingly, he was able to heal and recover and literally teach himself to use his new hands. on his new body. And, he went on to play for decades more, but
Oh.
there was a pretty large gap, which I'm sure was really hard on him, but it
Right.
was a really beautiful thing for our family because he had all this time off suddenly to be with us.
Mhm.
And I think those were the closest years that I had with him, especially. And I really cherished that time.
Yeah.
So that was when we had this homeschool co-op and got to be a little more
Gotcha.
grounded. And we had a large piece of land on the river in Nevada City, California.
Hmm.
So hundreds of acres surrounded by thousands of acres of BLM land. And I grew up like a wild feral on my four-wheeler, and just I was always bringing home wild animals um,
As pets or dinner?
as pets. Oh, I'm an
Okay.
animal lover, so I would find injured animals or baby animals that had fallen out of their nest. So I'd bring home hawks and owls, and my mom got pretty upset when I brought home rattlesnakes to turkey butcher. But it was also a beautiful, magical childhood in a lot of respects. And I was really happy. And in a lot of ways, I recognize what this community offers, that free-range childhood.
Right. Like
That
Fairview.
Fairview, yeah. Because I have traveled and lived in so many places around the world now. Hazel Anderson is somebody that I love here, and I've been working on a documentary project to record the histories and memories of our elders of Fairview.
Great.
And when I went to talk with her, she asked me point blank, why is a newcomer transplant from California, no less, coming into Fairview and wanting to create this documentary? And I said, I think sometimes when you could live in the most beautiful home and you start to take it for granted. You walk through the same halls, you see the same furniture, you see the same view out the window, and you just don't recognize it anymore for how spectacularly special or unique it is. And for me, having lived in all these places and weighed where we want to live with our family, I knew when we arrived that this was absolutely spectacularly special. And we threw it all in, every cent of our savings, everything to be here. And I don't know if I can give a better answer than that, but that's why. And for me, I would say whenever I want to understand something, I try to go back to its roots and understand its history. So for me, the project of interviewing the elders here is really about how did the magic that is Fairview come to be?
Mm-hmm.
For the oldest living members of this place, what memories can they share that would help me to understand how we preserve it, that would guide me in maybe reviving elements that are being lost? I feel like that's really important. And, some of these members are in their 90s, and
Yeah.
I don't know how long we have to record their stories, to record their
Yep.
memories, aside from their children and grandchildren, maybe being able to share those stories. I'd like to get it from the horse's mouth.
Sure, yeah.
So that's been a joy to get to hear from, I think we've interviewed over a dozen now. Maria Ricks and I have been the ones doing the
sweet.
interviewing, and Tim Bingham has been recording. And it's been really amazing. Obviously, I've
Yeah.
introduced quite a few Andersons, and
I'm sure, yeah.
that's why I want to be adopted by the Anderson clan. But yeah, it's this is the other thing that's amazing about Fairview compared to much of the U.S., especially California. California is, as far as the whole country goes, it's the newest. It's the baby compared to the East Coast.
Right.
But Fairview and Utah in general, I think, because of pioneers and Brigham Young's legacy, there are multi-generational families. I mean, yeah, the Andersons, 7 generations deep. Those are deep roots. I don't know anyone in California that can claim that kind of heritage and attachment and grounding to a place.
Yeah.
Of course, in England, you would find that.
Sure. Yeah. And back east,
and
you
back
see it
east,
like with the
absolutely.
plantations and stuff. I spent more time in the south than the north. So.
Yeah.
But you look at those old plantation homes and stuff, and it's like, my great 18th century heritage is here on this land.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Wow.
in Utah, I feel like it's young too, but for the newer part of the nation, I completely agree. It's kind of got that like heritage because it doesn't seem like there were very many places where people went and stayed. Everywhere else was kind of transient in the West for a long time until the pioneers came and were like, nope, this is it. We're calling it home.
Yeah.
And we're just going to settle everything, or we're going to make homes and families and generations and stuff to come all in these places.
And I don't know if I think it's a combination of many things. The fact that this is, a historically farming community, sheep herding. I think those industries naturally incorporate multi-generational labor. And so it bonds the community together within families, but also with neighbors in a way that you just don't see. Yeah, in very many other fields. And the fact that maybe because of the religious background, there is such an emphasis on the value of family connection. It has a magic to it that I see.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I can recognize it.
Yeah, that's great. So. Yeah, that's like personally talking about people coming and moving into San Pete. I know it's going to happen, but what I appreciate is when someone can come in here and say, I love this place for what it is.
Yeah.
And
not turn it into where they came from.
Yeah. I need to bring the things that I kind of left. I'm not saying people move because they want to all the time or because they need to or because of this law or whatever, but, and so some things are good, some things are bad, but everyone tries to like kind of, well, let's do this. This is what they did at my last town. This is what they did in my last area and stuff. And that's not, if you're moving somewhere because you like that vibe and you like that feeling and you like that area, then learn about it and experience it and figure it out before you're just like, I need to change. I need to move
100%.
things,
I think it's about honoring the culture, the traditions, the histories of the place that you are wanting to adopt as your own. And also recognizing that if you left the place that you were before, chances are you weren't totally happy there. So perhaps heed the warning of recreating this place that you have fled.
Yeah. Well, I fled Chester, and so moving from Chester to here, like it was more of a step up than a step back, I think. So
Chester is very sweet, also, but yeah, it doesn't have the cohesive town aspect. I think.
Speaking of history and everything, it's really interesting because Chester did. It had a church in it, and it had considerably more families that lived there and stuff back. Yeah, so my aunt, who is my mom's oldest sister, she's like in her 90s, and she's lived in Chester her entire married life. And she got married, 19, I think, somewhere around there, 18. And I was over at her house just a little while ago, and a couple of the other gentlemen from Chester that grew up there were over, and we were just talking about it, and they're like, oh yeah, do you remember these people that lived here and their family was here and everything, and it was just like this. It was a smaller version of what we see in these small towns like Fairview, but there was that whole community, there was the whole farming aspect and everything, and I don't know what shifted, because when I was young, it was still like we still knew everybody, of course, you still know everyone that lives there. But it wasn't that same community like you're saying, like Fairview is.
Yeah.
But
when I was interviewing Eddie Jean Coates, she talked about being a girl and riding her horse to the local market in Fairview. And there are some elements of her memories that I see that have already been lost. Like we don't have our own market. We don't have some of those kind of integral pieces. Now we have cars that can get us over to Mount Pleasant more easily or up north. But I would love to see somebody bring even a small little grocery, and a few more things. Luckily we have some kind of heartstring elements, but it would be nice to bring some of those pieces back. I
Yeah.
hope somebody does.
Well, and as Fairview grows, there's going to be a lot more availability for that kind of
Yeah, I know it's a
business thing.
risky
Yeah.
business model,
Yeah.
especially for a very, very
Groceries. Yeah.
tiny, but it can be done. And I,
Totally.
I did see it happen in our little town in Nevada City. Some very small co-ops have blossomed into thriving businesses, and
Hmm.
that would be something from where I came from that I think is a positive that I would
Hmm.
love to see happen. Um, if I have the ability one day, I would love to start. I launched the farmers market at the Mardells
Yeah.
corner station, and I would love to see an actual storefront where all of our local dairy, meat, produce, flowers, all of our locally sourced goods could be sold,
Yeah.
in addition to some regional, so kind of a farm store
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
And I think that would be amazing. And the Mardells are doing that a little bit. They've got
Hmm.
Flat Canyon Farms, and they've got Cheney's Meats, and they've got
Yep.
as much as they can do there. But it would be amazing to have a storefront
Yeah. It'd be
dedicated
really
to that.
great. And like, I don't know how focused you are on health and different things. I mean, you're a
Very.
fairly fit person and stuff, so I kind of
Yeah.
assume you are, but um, yeah, that's
Hmm.
huge. Like
Yeah.
locally sourced food for you
Hmm.
is so good. We try to only purchase meat from local areas because we want to have that. We want to support the locals, but we also want to have that what's good for us.
Yeah.
Like there is something to be said about like harvesting fruits, vegetables, honey, especially meats and
Hmm.
things from your surrounding area because it has things that you are exposed to
Yeah.
and it will help you.
It it touches on so many different. It's an ecosystem
Yeah. Yeah.
essentially, and unfortunately, I think large scale farming and agriculture um, presents a lot of dangers, and I think it would be very beneficial for us to invest in the roots that this community offers rather than, extractive principles where we just have it be residential and we're just taking it. That isn't
Exporting.
sustainable long term. Like Fairview has sustained itself for such a long history. I think it would be dangerous to let that go.
Yeah.
Personally, that is something that I would say is critically important to me to see preserved.
Yeah. Well, and it's something that we have the capability of.
Yeah.
We have a lot of variety of food and goods that could be brought just from inside our community
Yeah.
here.
But the farmers need outlets to sell
Yeah.
direct to consumers, and that's an area that I'm really actively focused, is talking with the farmers, talking with the producers, trying to think how do we support them in
Yeah.
better and larger ways. And
And I
that I
think
would say
that,
is dear to my heart.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think that process is starting to be viewed as the potential way forward across the nation
Yeah.
in some aspects. But I really think it's going to be a generation,
Yeah.
before everything could be brought back. Hey, it's very interesting to watch because I feel like we do this so often as a species where it's like, now let's combine it. Like we all have our individual cities, we all have our own individual homes and foods provided by that area and everything. And then we're like, oh, let's join together. And so we get a little bigger, and then we have like a state grocery store that's all across the state and everything. And then all of a sudden we have these national ones that come in, Walmart and everything, and we're like, you just like everybody starts to combine everything, which is good. In
Mm-hmm.
like the thought process is like, let's combine and build the whole nation together. But it turns into this money grab,
Yeah.
and then the consumer gets forgotten about, and the consumer ends up feeling the brunt of the issue of whatever is happening that's being cut to make the
Yeah.
money. And then
Well,
and then you see everybody kind of try to push to separate back out again. Like we do this ebb and flow in so many things. Like technology has done the same thing a couple times where they're like push everything together, and then they're like, nope, now we got to pull it all back apart.
I mean, I think you can see it in the tech industry. NVIDIA argued this point recently very effectively, with the Trump administration, that they should be allowed to sell their tech, their chips in China, because just like people who have an iPhone or an Android, they pretty much stick with what they've got. And that,
Yeah.
goes to
Yep.
the apps. It supports this larger ecosystem. And if they are the ones selling it, then they have the larger financial ability to outcompete these other markets. And if they lose that market, then China's going to wind up outpacing them.
Yeah.
The same thing is happening in the farming industry, and pretty much every industry is, if you're getting cheap products from third world countries that are relying on effectively slave labor or child labor, and then you start having everyone think that that is what they're going to expect, is that their milk or their eggs or their produce is going to be these rock bottom prices, sprayed with pesticides that have virtually no nutrient density. That's the extractive principles that I'm talking about, where you don't realize that you're leveraging your health, you're leveraging your personal economies, you are outsourcing all of these things that are going to undercut your children, your grandchildren down the road, and have these ripple effects that are, to me, absolutely terrifying. And for me, my wheelhouse is farming and agriculture. And so for me, that's what's really dear to my heart, and what I love about this community and really want to support and keep and protect.
Yeah.
That's really important to me.
Yeah, that's huge. And it's not to say that it'd be worth it to just only allow farmers to sell here locally, but we just need to have a portion of what they're providing.
There's a huge market. I mean,
Yeah.
Utah, I think it's, don't quote me perfectly, but it's something like we only produce something like 6% of our produce that we consume.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Part of that is our soil is tricky. I am learning. It's very tricky. We've got this alkaline soil, but it can be worked with. I'm starting to teach people on our farm how to do it without using chemical fertilizers and pesticides, and kind of trying to use our little plot as a example for others to follow if they have an interest. Even if it's just a small home garden, it can be done. And
yeah, I mean, there is something to be said about the variety. I love having the variety of everything. Some of my favorite foods and my family's favorite foods is Indian cuisine from India.
Yeah.
I mean, that's they love it. And I have coworkers that are from India, and so I get fresh, and it's just fantastic.
I do miss a lot of ethnic food. That's
true. And so, thinking of
Yeah.
Sampi in that aspect, I like Sampi food too. There's nothing wrong with beef. There's nothing wrong with chicken and sheep and lamb, and then the vegetables that we can grow here and the fruit that does grow here to some extent, it's all great. But man, I love that everything else that's out there.
I do too. And we prepare a lot of ethnic cuisine at our home using produce from our farm. We are very fortunate to have been able to install 2 greenhouses, which allow us to expand on our extremely short growing season. And also tinker with environmental inputs. So, okra, I tried growing it outside here, doesn't really love the huge temperature differential between the warmer days and then the colder nights. It wants the heat. And so it's thriving in the greenhouse.
I'm sure.
So there are crops that we could introduce if more people were able to get greenhouses built.
Sure.
And those can be, you don't have to have them super high tech like what we're doing.
Right. Yeah.
But you can. And there are some amazing grant opportunities for people wanting to do that, which I'm really excited to see. I've been working really closely with UDAF and the NRCS, and kind of learning what grants are available and how I can support not just me, but all of the farmers that I'm co-oping with through the farmers market. So
what kind of heat do you use in those?
So we do have 2 heaters, electric heaters.
Okay.
We are intending in time to build a methane digester that would then power a gas heater. we're hoping to do that in our big high tunnel greenhouse because it's such a large space. It's 26 by 72 feet. So
Oh,
it's got
yeah,
a
it's
big
big.
footprint, and it's got much higher ceilings because it's a
Yeah,
Gothic style. Our snow pack, you can't really do anything else, or you're
yeah,
just going
yeah,
to have it fall down.
yeah. Or just turbine.
But that would be prohibitive to use electric. Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be
yeah,
just expensive.
mm, yeah.
I don't know about all those big ones, but have you ever looked at like decomposition heaters?
Um, I'm not sure. My husband is the techie one.
Sure,
He does
sure.
all of the construction. I'm the grower.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, as he would say, he's the maintenance guy.
Nice,
No,
nice.
he
That's
does all of
important.
the construction, irrigation, electrical, plumbing. Yeah,
Gotcha, gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah, those are some of the things that I've looked into
Hmm.
because it's just interesting. Like the decomposition is like just basically you use decomposition of plant matter
Oh, it
to
is a
create
methane.
heat.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like composting, hot
Yeah,
composting.
basically composting. Yeah, and so you set up like usually they do with poly pipe, and they'll build a
Mm-hmm.
coil of poly pipe that's like maybe 100 feet or 200 feet
Mm-hmm.
inside, and then they
Mm.
stack hay bales around it or straw, and then they fill that full of plant waste, but usually it's like a fully chipped tree,
Okay. Yeah.
and you stack that up and then cover it with straw,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just use a small pump to circulate water through that line, and you can run that line like on radiant heat if you wanted to go through the ground or however you
Yeah.
wanted to do it. And for everything I've seen, I mean, obviously I haven't tried this yet because I haven't got my greenhouse built,
Mm-hmm.
but for everything I've seen on other people doing it, I mean, they're getting 3 to 4 months of heat,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a steady like 160 degrees on that water.
So we actually did install a geothermal climate battery,
Uh-huh.
8 feet down in our
Sweet.
greenhouse,
Hmm.
and we did hot composting through 2 winters.
Okay.
Our greenhouse is just a double paned polycarbonate
Hmm.
material, so it's not super insulated. Our winters can get so cold
Yeah.
at night, particularly,
Yeah.
that those two elements were not enough to keep it above that critical 35 degrees,
Yeah.
that you need to have growth.
Yeah. That's kind
Um,
of what I wondered because I'm like, I
yeah.
think it would work well most of the time, but when you get those like below zero time periods,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe having the heat low and on the plant, down low is going to help. But I don't
Yeah.
know, like if you had Char's big into dwarf fruit trees. That's
Mm-hmm.
what she wants to have, and so I'm looking at like lemon trees and things like that, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
is that going to get enough heat if I do that? But our greenhouse will probably be more stick built.
When she is
So
ready, send her my way because I've
okay,
been geeking out on this for quite a while, and I will share all of my findings, and we
sweet,
can, yeah, put our brains together.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's something that I've definitely been looking into and stuff. And I
Hmm.
don't know if you ever talked to Kevin Anderson
I
about
haven't.
his. So he has
No.
a greenhouse. He lives just over on the other side of like right at the railroad or the rodeo grounds.
Okay. Okay.
And he has a greenhouse on the south side of his house, and it's just
I've
stick
driven
built with
past it and I
windows.
kind of want to go. Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
Wallapini style.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So and he just did the geothermal
Cool.
underneath, and that's what he's done. He's like it. He's like I grew tomatoes into January, and then I got too many tomatoes and had to let them die.
That's awesome.
And
That's
so
great.
like I know there's ways to make it work,
Oh, yeah,
and you
for
just have
sure.
to decide which route you want to take. And
Mhm.
obviously, the geothermal is way less work for the same benefit as like a decomposition heater, but that's just so intriguing to me that I'm like, I think I'm gonna try it just to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the nice thing is then you've got all of that beautiful compost to
Yeah,
work with
yeah,
to plant in the next year.
right.
So
Yeah,
there's
one
no
of the
waste.
articles I had read, a guy was actually doing it to heat his house,
Oh,
and he
wow.
did 3 around his house, and then would use it as radiant floor heating through his house, and then would use the compost in the spring because I mean your heat runs out
Mm-hmm.
right as you're getting into springtime, and so then you just take the compost out,
Yep.
run it through the ground wherever you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
grow, and then you can start planting.
Yep.
And so like at least a holistic process,
Absolutely. Yeah.
that'll help you in multiple ways other than just heat.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, we have nothing goes to waste on the farm.
Yeah.
We reuse everything, including the sheep's wool in the soil building.
Oh,
So
sweet.
yeah, yeah, it's awesome. It's very cool.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Well, you don't want to get me. I'll geek out on this all day long. It's what my brain's always thinking about.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
So you left for high school, you went to Pebble Beach
Hmm.
for boarding school.
Yeah.
What was that like? Was it an all-girls school?
No, there was a sister school that was Santa Catalina was a all girls Catholic school, but no, ours was co-ed, and
Was that good or bad?
it was good. It was good. I almost went to Gordonston in Scotland, which was co-ed, but I remember reading the pamphlet at the time, and they said girls and boys must always maintain a 12-foot distance, and I
Ooh.
remember thinking that's not going to work for me. I was a little bit boy crazy. So, no, I wound up deciding to stay closer to home, which was better because I actually was terribly homesick. I didn't, especially my freshman year, I really struggled. When you're 14, I
Yeah,
had been
totally.
very close with my
It's not
family.
easy.
So, yeah, that was a bit of a challenge. So, I was close enough that the family could come and visit somewhat regularly,
Cool.
and that was good. Yeah.
And so, like in a boarding school, I have no experience with boarding schools
Hmm.
at all. So, do you like spend more time learning, or is it kind of the same structure and you just have free time, or like Wasatch is kind of like this, I'm guessing to some extent.
Yeah, I think Wasatch is probably similar. So we had boarders and day students. I think the day students maybe had more free time.
Hmm.
For the boarders, we would have our class schedule, which is pretty typical of anywhere, but there was way more homework because it was an Ivy League college prep. So it was
Oh,
like
okay.
their aim was to prepare you for a really rigorous university experience. And so they actually said they wanted to outdo what you were going to go into, and then it's like training for a
Yeah,
marathon. By
yeah.
the time you
It'll
got
be
there, it'd
easier.
be easy. Yeah.
Right. That's never
So
the
it
case, but
it was it was an incredible education. I am a very sensitive person. I think my nervous system suffered pretty terribly from the stress because I just wanted to do so well.
right, yeah.
So that was challenging, but it's fascinating because I have such clear memory of what I was taught there, and I don't necessarily have that from all of my educational years. So
Hmm.
what they were doing worked.
Right, yeah.
I struggled in certain subjects, but they had amazing support there. A lot of our teachers lived on campus with us, and
Mm.
so you're doing your paper or studying for your math exam, and you could literally go to your actual teacher and they would walk you through it and give you additional
Mm.
support. So that was amazing.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it was really
I don't know if it's worth your kid living there, but that is nice. It might be.
yeah.
I don't know.
I think I was a challenging teenager, and I think it was maybe a blessing to my family to pass the baton for that chapter. But
Right.
yeah, no, it was
So did
it
you
was
go to,
overall
you
really good.
went home during summer, or was it year-round school, or?
I did go home during the summers. I did summer school 2 years of high school. I went and did a semester abroad in Bolivia, and then I
Mm.
um, did a few courses at a local community college one summer, and yeah, it was my my aunt, who was my closest family relative. Um, she was fighting cancer my junior year, so that summer I looked after her and was taking her for all of her treatments and stuff.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sweet. So then did you go to college after, or?
So I had grand ambitions, and I don't know why I had this perspective, but I had a lot of guilt. I didn't like that my parents had to spend so much money on my high school years. And I
Mhm.
felt this weight, like it was a burden somehow. I now kind of wish that I wouldn't have had that. Just let them pay for whatever university I wanted to go to. So I decided that I would go to Vidal Sassoon Cosmetology School
Mm.
so that I could then earn a living wage, go to whatever schools, study whatever I wanted without having to answer to anyone, and just chart my own course.
Sure, yeah. Mhm.
So I did that, and then I worked, kind of getting my footing in that industry And it was amazing because I was able to go and live in Paris and put myself through language studies there. And I was able to go and live in New York and Miami and travel around and kind of learn at my own pace. I studied at several different community colleges, and
Hmm.
you know, I don't ever take a linear path. That's kind of the yeah, my my MO is to just do things my way.
Hey, it's a way,
Yeah, it is
and
a
there
way.
is no like defined direction
Yeah.
you have to take.
And
So
I'm a lifelong student. I mean, I'm always
yes.
reading, I'm always studying whatever I'm passionate about, whether it's, you know, technology, gardening, um,
Hmm.
business. Yeah, it's just my personality.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Hmm.
I can't agree more. Education is paramount.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that it has to be in a certain building or with certain people or anything like that. I just never stop learning. Never
Hmm.
stop educating about something.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like all the times that I've ever just stopped doing that, it's I've gone backwards in life. Like that's the time where it's like I'm not progressing forward, so I'm sliding back. And so I've really tried to always be learning something new, experiencing something new, working towards something because it just keeps me moving in the direction I want to go rather than you can't stop. You can't sit still. So it's forward back.
I know it's a fascinating world we live in now, and I watch. I know the kids get harped on a lot for playing video games, watching
Hmm.
TV, and I I do really credit my wild, free childhood where I was out in the woods, thinking in my mind,
Hmm.
creatively problem solving. I was on my own a lot. Um,
Being bored.
Being bored, I was kind of an entrepreneur from an early age. I think I threw my first fundraising festival that I designed entirely myself when I was 11.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, and I raised just over $700 for Greenpeace.
Sweet.
Yeah, I was a little budding activist. Anyways, but I was very proud of that, and I still to this day utilize some of those early techniques that you know, listing out all of my ideas and
Hmm.
keep, scribbling notes. And I mean, I do this in the middle of the night. I wake up with ideas and I will scribble a note so I don't forget it later.
Yep.
And I kind of just can go through and check them off as I do them. But I definitely am well met with my husband. Neither of us sit still. In fact, our first date, the first time I went to his house, I was feeling kind of antsy and nowhere to sit. And I said, "You don't have any chairs." And he said, "Oh, I don't sit."
I don't.
And I was like, "Oh, that's next level."
Seriously,
You're
like
crazier than me. Yeah. So yeah, we don't really
it's cool.
sit around very much. But I love organizing events. That's my other job with Fairview City is
Right. Hmm.
I organize community events, and I absolutely love that they said just be creative, see
Yeah.
what the community wants, see what works. And so I get to really try things out, and it's given me license to be very creative and to connect with the community on all these different levels,
Yeah.
because everybody has different interests.
Hmm.
And that's something that lights me up,
Sweet.
doesn't light everybody up, but it lights me up.
It takes all kinds.
Uh-huh, it does. Yeah.
So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
did you have a goal of what you wanted to study while you were traveling around and going to schools and stuff?
So I definitely have always had an interest and a passion in languages, but it's really more communication. I would say
Okay.
I am a relationships person, and I really like to learn about different cultures. I like to hear stories. I
Hmm.
love to hear people. Every person I've ever met, I would tell you they could have a movie made about their life,
Yeah.
and
Mine would be very boring, but it'd be an awesome movie to
I
watch for
doubt
about
it.
10
I
minutes.
doubt it. um, so for me, yeah, that of course, being an English speaker, you're going to find many people who speak your language as you travel around the world.
Mm-hmm.
You're also going to find a lot of people who resent you for it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I wanted to be able to connect, or at least try to connect in their own words. So I did study a number of different languages and history, art, photography. I've studied political science and psychology and nutrition and health, homeopathy, hoping to apprentice with a local herbalist next year, which is another big passion of mine.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say my plan for my retirement years is to really lean more into holistic health.
Oh, cool.
I feel like that will serve my interests as my body needs to be a little more quiet and less,
But
you
what are you
know,
going to do for the next 30 years if that's
farming.
retirement? Okay.
Farm. I mean, more of what I'm already doing. Actually,
Okay.
my husband and I want to start an organic soil business where we will build soil and hopefully be able to
Was it Terra
supply.
Preta?
What's that?
You going to name it Terra Preta? Isn't that
Uh,
what it is in the Amazon?
and yeah, that's a good name. No, my husband wants to call it sandpeat soil.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
A little more homey.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's a local patriot as well. Yeah.
Sweet. So did you get a degree in college or just...
No, this is the part that I find really frustrating about getting a degree is that they want you to study topics that have no bearing on
Mhm.
your actual focuses. I think now vocational studies are becoming more accepted,
Mhm.
but still frustrating. Interestingly, some of those subjects that I really balked at in my early 20s now would be absolutely relished. So maybe it was just the wrong time to study them. Maybe I will finish one of these days, but I'm more of a hands-on learner. I'm always reading and studying and
Yeah.
researching. That's, just kind of
Well,
take my own path.
yeah, that I struggle with education in some fields.
Mhm.
You know, like obviously there's some fields where I feel like it's paramount. Like if
Mhm.
you're going to be a doctor, you probably need to learn a lot about the human body. You probably need to learn a lot about what medicines there are,
Mhm.
procedures and things like. There's a lot there that has to be taught, and
Absolutely.
you have to learn.
Yes.
You could learn
Absolutely.
that on the job, but I think it helps to have that education background before you go out and start doing it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. The law, I mean, yeah,
Mhm.
you're going to need
Yep.
pretty,
Things like that.
yeah.
And then I would even say like trades
Mhm.
deserve an educational spot.
Yeah.
Like welding is not something you typically just walk over and pick up a stick and start welding.
Yeah. Hmm.
And then knowing like the best way to connect different metals and stuff. Like there's so much that can be involved in that
Yeah.
that I think education really you can close a lot of space that you would have to experiment yourself if you do education.
Yeah.
A lot of people learn that like with welding, for instance. My brother-in-law is an awesome welder,
Mm.
but he learned it all himself. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I just think it could have been condensed and saved a little bit of time.
Hmm.
I don't know if he had the opportunity or not. He maybe did, maybe didn't.
Right.
But, personally, that's what I think. But like my skill set working in security, information security, we just hired a guy that had a master's degree and he's a junior level.
Mm.
And it's not anything against him. He's a great guy. He's intelligent and stuff, but he just doesn't have the experience because school doesn't give you experience.
Yeah.
And every place that wants to hire expects experience.
Yeah.
So what good is the school? I don't know.
I've got to think that they are going to start tailoring to the evolving,
Yeah.
landscape,
Yep.
business landscape, and I think they will start serving more thoughtfully in those regards. But currently, and it's just, I mean, student loans, it's just,
Yep.
it's crushing. I have friends with, 2 PhDs, and they're just going to live with their student debt for the rest of their life. They make payments every
Mhm.
year for the rest of
Yeah,
their
it's
life.
just a mortgage on their education.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
like mortgage by the definition, which is like till death,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. And I personally object to that.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I guess that's the benefit to the way that I have done things is I've paid as I've gone and,
Yeah.
and been able to.
Yeah, I do think that I guess there is a small advantage with like if I'm looking at people to hire, college education does tell me that you have grit or determination and you're willing to stick it out
And
to do
discipline,
something,
yeah.
you know. And so that is like a bonus of that, but I think there's other ways you can express that without student loans and
Yeah,
the time spent, you know.
absolutely.
So,
I am highly disciplined if it is something that I'm passionate about.
yeah.
If it's something I'm not, I'll sit there going cross-eyed very quickly or getting very
Mhm.
antsy. So I don't know, maybe that makes me ADHD. Never gotten a diagnosis, but it's probable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
So you traveled around everywhere. What's your favorite language outside of English?
hmm.
Maybe it's English.
That has evolved.
Yeah.
That has evolved. I was in love with French, and I will always love French. I just found it to be the most beautiful language, and I have a huge community of friends in France. Um, but it's interesting. Languages that I found abrasive when I was young, German and Russian, are now absolutely fascinating. Swedish, Norwegian, I would love to learn um, those languages.
Yeah. They're cool.
Yeah. I'm studying Portuguese right now just because my niece is, uh, she's half Portuguese.
Oh,
And
cool.
so she's being raised and I want to be able to connect with her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say for myself, I'm hoping to learn German and Russian next and then maybe move on to
Sweet.
some more. We'll see. Yeah.
That's cool. I take the
Hmm.
lazy approach with travel, and my wife hates it because she's like, "Why don't you just? We should learn some language before we go there." And I'm like, "I speak English. Someone will understand what I'm saying."
They
You know?
will, but they might spit in your face.
Right. Right. Yeah. I definitely have experienced things like that before, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, do I want to spend the bandwidth for that when I know I'm probably not going to learn the language and stick with it and
Yeah,
stuff?
if it isn't a passion, I mean, I
Yeah.
just, rather than doom scrolling on
Yep.
social media, I, spend anywhere from 15 minutes to a couple hours a day doing my little language studies.
Yeah.
And that
That's great.
kind of gives you that dopamine hit of feeling like you've accomplished
Hmm.
something and it grounds me. If I'm feeling really spiraling in my head about something going on, I'll do that and it kind of centers my mind.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's good. So then did you when did you decide to stop college or
Well, I guess when I was pregnant with my daughter. Well, no, because I've taken since she was born. It's just,
okay,
I would say it's sprinkled. Yeah.
what's the next thing the next life event then?
The next life
Like when did you
event.
meet your husband?
So I met my husband on my 26th birthday, my 26th birthday party. But we didn't wind up.
What a present.
Yeah. It was love at first sight for me. I knew that he was the one for me the second I saw him. But it took him longer to, come to his senses.
Hey, guys are slow. Trust me, I'm on the inside.
Yeah. And we were together for a number of years, but I really wanted a family, and he wasn't sure that that's what he wanted. And so we wound up separating. He said, if that's really, really what is critical for your life path, then I think you should pursue that. And so we separated, but remained friends, very close friends. And I married my first husband. And my first husband and I had our daughter, our beautiful daughter. And
Is this in California?
this is in California. Heartbreakingly, he had some big medical stuff come up, and that led to him feeling that he couldn't be present in our marriage or or as a father completely for a chapter. And I'm not going to share much on that because that's his story and it's not mine to share. But I thought my life had become a great tragedy. Frankly, I was like, how did this happen? And then I heard from Cody, and he said, I would have never, ever done anything to disrespect your marriage or your family. But if your marriage truly is over, I would do anything for a second chance. And so he stepped in and helped me raise our daughter, and then we had our little boy. So,
Sweet.
you know, I guess it course corrected in a way, at least on my side. You know, I'm sure my ex-husband would have a different version, but for me,
There's two sides to every story.
there's two sides to every story. Yeah. But I think we have a pretty beautiful thing now, so I'm grateful.
Awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so were you working? Have you like been a working person the majority of your life, or
Yeah, so
how's it been?
I was working. I had a full clientele of hair clients in Northern California. My husband was in Southern California, and I was kind of split because I didn't want to take my daughter too far away from her dad in Northern California. So I was doing the long distance back and forth.
Gotcha.
And then when our little guy was on the way, I got permission to finally make the move down to Southern California. I am not a Southern California girl. That just about fried my soul. It was not good. And I wound up suffering a terrible health collapse. Actually, the doctors weren't sure that I was going to survive it. And if I survived it, they thought they might have to amputate my right leg. So that was
Wow.
terrifying and a real hardship on our family, obviously. I mean, our little guy was 2 years old, needing so much help. At that time, my aunt came from Florida to help look after the children, so that because I was bedridden, I couldn't walk. And so she would take the kids during the day while my husband was at work, and I was adrift. I mean, I really felt. My husband and I had talked about from our first date that our ultimate goal was to start a farm together. And there was always this story of, we need to make more money, we need to get more education, we need to buy the perfect property where we can have educational centers. And, we had these massive dreams that always pushed it further and further down the road. Meanwhile, we're getting older, time's passing, and now I'm having this health crisis. And laying in bed by myself, losing my mind, it felt like I was going crazy. I started to grieve. And it was, I was scared of maybe dying and leaving my children motherless. That was, really frightening. But what was really the big grief was that we had never even started towards our dream. We'd never even tried, like on a tiny level. It was just not one step had been taken towards that dream. And so I started praying for the first time in my life. I was, maybe spiritual, but never religious. And I definitely didn't really have a relationship with God, or I'd never prayed in my entire life. And so I was praying fervently, sort of bargaining with God and saying, if you can get me better, then I will not wait. I will make this the top priority. And I did tell my husband, I was like, if I get better, by the way, just so you know, made this bargain and we're going to be diving in. And he was like, okay. And I said, I won't let money, I won't let anything stop. I will just take a full leap of faith and do it. And I had my sights set on Vermont. And we had a camper trailer. I packed it with this idea that I was going to leave for 3 months I was going to drive across the country, and I was going to travel around New England. I was going to find my husband a job. I was going to find the property that we were going to start this farm. And I was going to head out with the kids and the dogs, and leave my husband to keep working.
Right.
3 days before I was due to leave on this trip, my husband had been getting job offers from a company here, but they kept upping the ante, and they really upped the ante. And he said, I think you should just pause on leaving for New England, fly out there, and just see if it's even workable. And so I flew out, and I fell in love with Fairview. I mean, I was like, there's a Vermont in Utah? I mean, because I had this vision of Vermont with the autumn, colors, the fall colors. And so for me, seeing the canyon, it was like, because I had always thought of Utah as like Zion, the red rocks, and which is gorgeous. But I just don't think of it as Utah. I don't think of it as farmland,
Yeah.
But seeing this bucolic, idyllic landscape that was my vision, that I'd been holding in my mind and in my prayers, it was this like click. And actually, Ryan Anderson, I toured his home, so I met him day one in Utah.
Sweet.
And talked to him and met his sheep, and and I just fell in love with it. I said, okay, we're doing that.
That was probably Ryan that just drove by.
Oh yeah.
Heard that. Yeah.
Okay.
He's always down here walking his dogs.
That's awesome. Yeah. So that is how we moved to Utah, and I went home and we started packing, and we did it. We jumped in with both feet
in the camper.
Yep, in the camper. And I was so weak. I mean, at that point, because I had been bedridden for 6 months, and so just to walk from our house to the mailbox, I was so sore I couldn't walk for 3 days. I mean, that's how weak I was. And so when we bought our home here from the Lees, they were so amazing. This family who was leaving Fairview, but really wanted to make sure that their home and land would be stewarded in the way that they had envisioned. They organized a community potluck to introduce us to all of our neighbors, and they were absolutely instrumental in helping us here. But
and they were just awesome people.
They were. Well, I'm still in touch with them. They say that they feel like it was like an open adoption when they sold their home to us, because they follow on social media and they see, all of my posts about the home and property, and they're going to come out and visit. And
good.
Yeah, and we're going to hold a potluck in their honor next time.
Sweet.
So, but yeah, when I got to the house, I couldn't climb the stairs to our bedroom.
There's only like 3. Oh, in the house. Okay.
No,
there's only 3 on the porch.
I could get into the main floor, but I couldn't go upstairs. And so for the first 2 months, I stayed in our camper outside. And would just slowly unpack. And I remember thinking, I have no idea how I'm going to build this farm. Like, how am I going to rebuild my strength to do it? But the farm, I think that will to plant, to reach, to bend, it was like physical therapy, because I am the strongest I have ever been in my entire life. And that includes being a gym junkie, martial arts for years and years, soccer, I mean, I was really athletic my whole life, and I've never been in this crazy of good shape.
Awesome.
So the farm has healed me and really healed so many levels to my being. Yeah, it feels like the first time in my life I feel very solidly like I am on course. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm on the right path. There's different points in your life you're like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? I feel it here. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, without a doubt.
That's great.
Yeah.
What do you have a job outside of the farm?
Yes. So I have a home salon, licensed home salon through the city and state. And then I have the farm, licensed through the city and state. And then I do the event planning for Fairview. And then I also work with my husband at the medical cannabis facility in Moroni.
Oh, okay.
So my husband manages that facility.
Yeah, and that's like the big fence gated everything out there kind of by freedom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which if anyone is ever interested in taking a tour, he's really trying to do public education on,
Sure.
I mean, I think it's 50,000 square feet. It's a massive
Dang.
facility. You can't tell from the,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
huge. It's an incredible, I think they employ close to 50 local
Wow.
employees. And it's a really good team. It's got a really good culture there. Everybody works together really well. And actually, ironically, the head of my department, because I am a lead for the greenhouses outside, but my direct boss is a friend who moved here, who I've known since he was 7 years old, my son's
Oh,
age. Yeah. So he moved here from New York to help with this project.
wow.
Yeah. And
Small world.
I know, but it's just, it's wild. It's so amazing to see him, you know, grown up and become this amazing leader, and he's wonderful to work for.
Great.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Hmm.
So you manage the greenhouses over there? Like
I do
all the
indoor as
growth
well.
or
Everything from cracking seeds to transplanting to weeding, pruning, trimming, processing. I haven't worked in the lab. So there is a lab on site where they distill, um, there's the cannabinoids and the terpenes, and they
mm-hmm.
do all this medical grade lab work. But
Right.
so I haven't worked in there, but I've worked everywhere else in the nursery, in the
Sweet.
cultivation, indoor and outdoor, and in processing.
Does it help with your farming at home? Like get
Um,
ideas and things or
yes, I would say I have inadvertently learned different integrated pest management techniques because they do, so it's all organic there.
mm-hmm.
So they are using ladybugs and different things to
Right, yeah.
control nematodes in the soil, and they're, so I'm getting an education on those fronts.
Is it hydroponics?
Um, so yes, the indoor is, and then the outdoor is soil.
Okay.
Yeah. Although they are using hydroponic nutrients even for the
On the
outdoor.
soil.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But it's amazing. Every single light fixture has sensors that go to a huge tech company in California where they monitor, and they can say, okay, this one's having an issue, and they
Hmm.
can register if there's any issues. It's a very high tech facility, and it's
Sweet.
it's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
If
that's cool.
for a techie, I think you would enjoy a tour.
Well, and I won't even get into my high school days then. Whole different connection.
Yeah. Well, I am just really excited because, I mean, I would say I regularly get calls from our oldest community members here in Fairview, in their 80s, 90s, asking me, about, is there a medicine that's not going to have any psychoactive elements that could help with sleep or with pain,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just really happy to see the industry losing its stigma and starting to serve the broader public, not just stoners, but
Right, yeah.
really starting to serve people with epilepsy and
Yeah.
cancer and arthritis and just pain,
Mm-hmm.
insomnia, all the things
Yeah.
that we all struggle with.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's an amazing medicine that's available.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I feel like it was too long coming that it was even just studied.
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
legalization, you can go back and forth and say people should or shouldn't be able to use it. I think there's plenty of things to say that it's probably safer than other substances that are legal.
Hmm.
But there is also negatives.
Yeah.
Like nothing is clean. Nothing is
Hmm.
100% good. So obviously it's going to have downsides. But that aside, like why did it take us so long to be like, what good comes from this plant?
Hmm.
Because there has to be good that comes from it. Well, there doesn't have to, I guess, but most likely there's good that comes from this plant. It's been used for years and years and years by indigenous people.
Yeah.
Why aren't we looking at it? So,
Absolutely. Fascinatingly, with all the realtors in Sanpete County, I mean, it's flooded with realtors. I couldn't find one when I was
when you're
trying to.
moving here,
Yes, when we were trying to. I couldn't find one. I think I called. It was an outrageous number. I was going down the directory. Anyway, I finally found a realtor who answered, and it was amazing. So she answered, and I said, "Hi, our family wants to move to Sanpete County, and we need a realtor. Can you help us?" And she said, "I can't believe it. I was just sitting and praying that someone would call, a new client would call." And I said, "Well, I hate to say that I'm God sent, but
Here I am. Yep.
And so I got to know her very well over the course of the months that it took to find our home. And it turns out that her family they spearheaded legalizing medicinal cannabis in Utah because her granddaughter was suffering over 100 grand mal seizures a day.
Dang.
And we're talking a little girl. She had catastrophic stroke and seizures from her childhood vaccines. And anyways, it wound up triggering severe epilepsy. And her father, who's a pharmacist, was actually working. He got a job in Colorado so that he could bring back the oil that they would put through her feeding tube in her stomach. But it was illegal. He didn't want it to be illegal, so he was petitioning all of the state legislators and their family, and the church actually wound up backing them and changing the ideas. She sadly wound up dying during that time that we were moving here. From, there's only so long the body can sustain that.
Yeah.
But
it's rough.
The cannabis oil that they were able to get legally in Utah wound up bringing over 100 seizures down to, they were having like 2 or 3 a day with her.
Wow.
Which, gave her some quality of life.
Yeah.
And that was an amazing story to hear. And it really made me feel like, okay, it was another sign, like we're on the right course.
Yep. Head in the right direction.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Sweet.
For us.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that it took us that long just to study and learn.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone wants to learn, but there's just like certain subjects that people are like, you can't learn about this, you can't learn about that, and you can't ever look at this, And it just shocks me because, like we were saying, education is so paramount. Like, why wouldn't we educate on everything?
Yeah.
So.
Well, there are some valid concerns. I'm not going to discount that there are valid concerns, but I do think that money was a big factor.
That's
it is a big threat to big pharma, for sure.
That makes it even worse in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. You don't want to think that there's these nefarious forces, but when you get into the billions and trillions of dollar industries, you better believe it. It does have an impact. Those lobbyists are going to say, no, 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 no.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I get that. So that got that. So we're here. You're working all these different jobs. What got you into deciding to do city council?
So, day 3 of arriving in Fairview, we showed up with our miniature cow and our alpacas and our chickens, and we had installed a fence to keep them safe. That we actually had built that while the Lees were still there. And day 3, I had run up to Paul Peckham's farm to get hay for the animals. And I had been loading it and unloading it, both sides. I was absolutely, a fright. I looked a fright. I was sweaty and itchy and just losing my mind. Anyhow, this is kind of a funny story, but so I came in and I was kind of panicking because I was getting like hives from all the grasses. And so I sort of stripped virtually naked at the kitchen sink, and I'm just trying to wash my neck and face. And the doorbell rings. I'm thinking, oh no, not now, And my son, my little boy, answered the door. He's 4 at the time, and he comes into the kitchen wide-eyed, and he says, "The police are here." And I said, "What?" And so I'm thinking, oh no. So I grab a bathrobe and I go and answer, and it's Chief Gray. Poor Chief Gray. He says, "Oh, this is awkward, but you've been reported for compliance issues. for your animals and your fence. It's an anonymous report, but I have to follow up on it. You're going to have to go before the planning commission and see whether or not you have to do anything to meet their city ordinances. I start bawling. I was just, the stress of the move, everything. And he was
Right.
like, "Oh, no, 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 this is my worst." And I was like, I just had a complete meltdown in front of poor Chief Gray. And he was so sweet. He was like, "I'm sure it'll be fine. Just go down to the city." So I went down, and our city manager at that time was Cameron, and Jan
Uh-huh. Yep.
Anderson was there, and they were very sweet. And they said, "No problem, we'll get you over on the schedule for the planning commission. And you know what? We'll look at the city ordinance paperwork right now." And it turned out I was within compliance, so I was being reported. But I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go before the planning commission and make sure that I've
Mm-hmm.
got all my ducks in a row, because I wanted to register the businesses and
Yep.
do everything right. So, I attended and told them my plan for what I wanted to do here, and that I was interested in maybe starting a farmer's market. And Jason Mardell was on planning
Mm-hmm.
commission, and he said, "Come talk to me afterwards. I would be interested in hosting it and providing you a space
Sure.
for
Yeah.
that." And so that's how I started there. And then I had to, through planning and zoning, I had to go before city council for all of the building department stuff for the greenhouses,
Mm-hmm.
etc. Started just listening and attending more and more meetings, and, you know, paying attention to what's happening in our community. And it, there were so many different elements with my event stuff, and where I was needing to interface with all the city officials and getting to know them, um, that I just started taking more and more of an interest in it, and really felt like I was seeing that there's sort of two rule books, two playbooks. There's the multi-generational families who have been here forever, um, who can pretty much, they don't have to follow the same rules as someone who's coming in who's going to get reported for any
Yeah.
perceived infraction. And I'm listening to, I remember it was Jason Mardell actually who said, he was like, "It's very dangerous to have any legislation in place that is unenforceable. If we cannot enforce our laws, then they shouldn't exist. We
Mm-hmm.
really need to be thoughtful about what ordinances we put in place so that they can be enforced. And also, be thoughtful about amending or changing anything that isn't serving well. I mean, if people are breaking it, is it because it shouldn't be there? Is it something that we maybe need to update and modernize so that it's fitting our community's needs?" And it really got me thinking about, okay, this town is on the precipice of substantial growth.
Yeah.
Um, I saw my hometown grow massively. When I was a kid, it was 12,000 people, and I think we're pushing 300,000 now.
Wow. Yeah, that's substantial.
Yeah, it's massive. They've done some things well, and other things everybody wishes they could go back and change, but it's Pandora's box. It's already
Yeah.
happened. And so I'd love to see the town preserved and protected. You can't stop growth. It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as much as we all wish we could just press pause and stay in the golden age, it's
Yeah.
it's going to happen. And so the next best thing is to guide that growth in a thoughtful way that protects the elements that you want to see protected and really serves the community in sustainable, realistic ways.
Yeah.
And yeah, making sure that those policies, those laws, bylaws, and all of the legislative impacts are going to serve everyone well.
Yeah.
One example would be Airbnbs in
Mm-hmm.
California, and really around the world, even in Paris. The apartment that I lived in Paris, I went and visited. It used to be multi-generational families. They all knew each other. It was 8 floors. Everybody knew each other, and they would talk to each other on the stairwell.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's only one apartment that's that same family. Everyone else is Airbnb. And so, because they're transient, visitors. They don't have an investment in the community. They don't have an
Yeah.
investment in relationships. They're misusing, mistreating the people, the space,
Hmm.
and the culture and history is being lost. I mean, that's Paris. Think
Yeah.
about what happens to a small town. The same things happen. There's benefits to having Airbnbs. People in Fairview have big families, and
Hmm.
there's not a huge job market here. So kids are going to leave for college, to start families, to find gainful employment elsewhere. And they want to come back for these big family reunions. Where are they going to stay?
Yeah.
So I understand, but I think having it structured where if you have an Airbnb, there has to be a primary residence where you live there and it's maybe a guest house. So yes, you're making
Sure.
income off of it, but your children have a place to land when they want to visit, and it's still being stewarded by a
Yeah.
primary family. There's things like that that you can do to guide that growth in a way that protects that foundation.
Yeah.
That's my perspective on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that can really turn into a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
You look at some of these places that are really tourist oriented,
Yeah.
and they have just massive amounts of communities that are just transient people,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't help.
Yeah.
Like it's good to have the money come in, and it's good when you like design something that's meant for that. But if it's just gonna be like houses are just gonna be bought up and turned into Airbnbs, and it's just gonna turn into a residence of just transient people, it will deteriorate the city for
Yeah.
sure. You know?
In my hometown, I actually went door to door canvassing with a friend who's then running for city council. He's now the mayor.
Hmm.
And it was gutting because I would say it was at least 60% of the doors that we knocked on, somebody would answer and they would say, "This is our second home. Our primary home, where we vote, is in San Francisco.
Right.
This is our weekend home, but we
Yeah.
don't vote
Yeah.
here."
Hmm.
And that was just okay. So, 60% of the town are not actively engaged in how the town is being structured and how
Hmm.
it's being monitored. And that's, again, I don't think that's,
Yeah, that can be problematic.
yeah, yeah. And there's certain things you just can't control, but those are areas that I would lean into, trying to find creative solutions to monitor and manage that growth in a really thoughtful way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing I worry most is you look around Utah and the amount of growth that's happening in Utah, and you can see where infrastructure was thought of and
Mm-hmm.
where infrastructure was not.
Yeah.
And so, like, as Fairview grows, that's the one thing that I really hope that we can at least get like 60% of the concept figured out.
Yeah.
No one's ever going to be 100% because you never know exactly how everything's going to turn out. But like,
Yeah.
if we can lean into into infrastructure type things and build a robust Fairview,
Mm-hmm.
so that when people come in, it's controlled, it's
Yeah.
able to have things flow, and it's not going to cause headaches and congestion and sewer problems. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have a coworker who lived in Eagle Mountain, and he had a home there, and he's like, well, we had a sewer lift pump for the entire neighborhood
Wow.
because the sewer was higher elevation than we were. And he's
Wow.
like, it went out and flooded like six
Oh,
houses and just
no.
barely got to where it almost flooded mine, but didn't. And I'm like, see, things like that, like, I don't want to see that kind of stuff happen. you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'm like, it really just comes down to like planning. Like, how are you planning to do these
Mm-hmm.
things
Yeah.
for the future? And I know Fairview has, we put in the sewer system like 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and we had no idea how Fairview was going to look today.
Right. That was when
You know,
Shauna's father was mayor, right? Wasn't
I
he
think
involved? I
so.
believe
Yeah,
he spearheaded getting a grant and really
he could
trying
have.
to
Yeah,
put that in with an eye to the growth that Fairview would one day
yeah.
experience.
And it's not that it was perfect, but it also wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
think they did the best they could with what they had at the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that things continue kind of in that same vein of where we're like, well, what can we do for power right now that's going to make it where power is not going to be an issue in
Mm-hmm.
20 years.
Yeah, and I mean we're seeing uh, the water woes that we're
Yep.
experiencing, and I would love to get more involved with efficiency measures and sustainability measures on that front.
Yeah.
That's, as a farmer,
Right.
there are very few things that are more of critical importance to me
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah. Water's
Yeah.
a rough one.
Mhm.
And it's always been a really divisive thing everywhere
Yeah.
in Sanpete, you know.
Yeah,
I
sure.
grew up on farms in Spring City, and it was like constant battle
Right.
with everyone.
I
So,
bet. Yeah. Yeah. I'm in an agricultural community that's people's livelihoods. So
yeah.
they're going to have big feelings. Yeah.
Yep. And as more people move in, that's a more strain on irrigation, which creates
Mhm.
less irrigation for farmers. And,
Yeah.
you know, everyone wants a green lawn, but farmers need to be able to make money. And it's a very fine line to toe. But somebody has to be looking at it, and we can't just ignore it and hope it goes away, because
Yeah.
it's never going to, you
Yeah.
know. So that's, I
Mhm.
hope that we can see people come in to city council and into even not just this election cycle, but the next,
Yeah.
you know, few
Absolutely.
election cycles, that are really forward thinking about how is Fairview going to be protected as we move forward and grow, you know.
I mean, I don't think there is a candidate alive who wants to serve the community because they don't want to
Right, yeah,
protect it.
yeah.
But yes, of course, everybody's going to have a slightly different idea of how they serve. Um,
Well, and the idea, like some people think, because I mean this hasn't been a thing for a while, but like I've lived in Fairview for a long time, and when I first was here, it was like, well, this is a bedroom community,
mhm.
and so they turned businesses away and they stopped things and stuff, like,
Hmm.
because they're like, this, that's not the kind of business we want to have in
Interesting.
Fairview. And so I can see what they're saying,
Mhm.
and I can agree to some extent, but there's also like some of the instances I can think of where this was the case. You're just kneecapping Fairview. You know, you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot and
Mhm.
saying that that wasn't a bad business option. It would
Yeah.
actually fit in well and make
Right.
it easier for Fairview City to collect tax revenue and
Yeah.
provide more jobs to the community. But because we're trying to stay this picturesque, you know,
Mhm.
bedroom style community only, that made it where they didn't want to have it,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm not saying I want a Facebook data center. You know,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
not what I'm trying to say
No.
here.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, with some thoughtful process, we can
Yeah.
get businesses,
Yeah.
or when businesses approach the city,
Mhm.
we can grow, and that helps, like, tax revenue from businesses helps citizens,
Shut
it
off.
helps,
Sorry.
oh no, you're good. It helps property values, it helps everything if we can just work together to get the things that we are okay with seeing, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, and as a parent with kids growing up here, of course, I can't say that they're going to want to stay close to
Hmm.
me forever, but I am the kind of parent that I wish my children would stay close.
Sure. Yeah.
And I know that they're not going to if they don't have the ability to find work.
Yeah.
So there does have to be some growth
Hmm.
in our economy, and job structures. That
Yeah.
does need to come pretty
And
critically.
unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it kind of has to be like of every level of income.
Yeah.
Like you can't just have lawyers and doctors and high
Yeah.
education valued people coming in, because that's not going to make it where my kid can just work their way into that kind of position. But
Mhm.
you know, you have to have like the grocery stores and the
Yeah.
gas stations, which we have a few of, thankfully. But you know,
Mhm.
those same things, and then middle class, like middle management type
Yeah.
positions, like all of it has to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to have a tiered system.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
I hope to see that in the future, as Fairview kind of tries to plan ahead, that they can say, this is how we're going to address business and growth and job opportunities in our community.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. An area that I feel like is, I'm not going to say lacking, but I think is not being met very well currently is there is a real hang up with communications, particularly between our city government officials and the larger community. It's
Yeah.
from basic stuff where it's hard. There's no answering machine at City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
So if you call and the line's busy, well,
Or if they're not in the office, which they don't work Fridays. Lucky
yeah,
them, but
but it can be challenged. So you have to physically go in,
yeah.
which can be a challenge. Two, last Tuesday it was listed on the city website that City Council was meeting up to Tuesday night. I was out there with the other candidates and a group of local citizens waiting for them to open. And we're starting to look at our watch. Okay, this is odd. And so we all start calling council members and Nathan at the city, and they said, oops, yeah, sorry, it got moved to next Tuesday. But there's no updating of the website, definitely not updating on Facebook. I know Mike McKay does his very best to try and keep up with Fairview Focus, and and they do post stuff. But I think if I were to be on there, I would ask to be put in charge of improving those areas. I'm very good at communicating promptly and consistently. I think it drives my family crazy because I'm always available. I'm one of those, but it really, that's a major pet peeve for me. Is I really think it's important to involve the community, and they can't be involved if they don't know when stuff is happening, what's on the agenda. And I realize it's a generational thing. Social media is definitely more my generation and younger, but I'm happy to spearhead that. If I can lift that load and try and streamline and create trust in the community that they will get notices. This is where they need to go to look. They can call me anytime. They can ask me questions. They can give me feedback. And I'm not always going to know the answers, especially because I am the newbie to town. I am a transplant. I don't know all of the historical issues, but I know the people who have been here historically, and I know who to go and ask and to educate myself and to really get a foundation so that I feel more authority in answering those questions, And I would like to think that I'm humble enough to say, hold that, don't have the answer yet, but I will get back to you real quick once I do,
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the best I can do, but I do think it's needed to have that availability and consistency of communication. Because, with the motocross track, like they said, we're going to post the schedule. You're going to know when it's happening. Just basic stuff. It's just nobody knows what's happening, or at least that's how I felt. And I'm asking. I'm actively looking, scrolling, trying to figure out where do I find this information so that I can plan. Because even at my house, I can hear it inside, but it definitely rains on my parade to be out in the garden planting. So,
well, and it's not like I don't look at it and think, well, they're just sitting there twiddling their thumbs. Like that's the hard thing is like the city's not unbusy. They are busy people and they have a lot going on and they have a ton of things that happen, but I feel like this is the one ball that shouldn't be dropped. Prompt communication is like what creates a healthy relationship between consumer and business. And I get that Fairview isn't necessarily like it's government, so it's not like a business per se. But government is like the biggest business in the world. And so you kind of have to have some of the same principles.
Yeah.
But, and even further, because they serve the population of all of Fairview, not just some of Fairview, they should have the most communication. They should be the most transparent.
And I mean, there's been a lot of rancor about false information being circulated. Sure. Well, if you communicated the real information, make regular posts educating the public, then people can reference it. And they can educate themselves and they can be informed. I feel like it's like preventative medicine, There's some divisions that don't even need to be there. We could avoid just by having that clear communication and consistency so that people know when to look, when it's coming, when the information, to me, that's really important.
And some of those things like Airbnbs, for instance, that's one that would need to be fairly communicated, because that's going to affect people. Like that, the one thing I like about Utah and Utahns
Mm-hmm.
is that they're industrious,
Mm-hmm.
and they always have, like, every Utahn has a side hustle, and
Yeah.
they're doing something on the side, and that is awesome
Yeah.
because it's cool to hear what they're trying to do. It's cool to hear how they get experience and
Yeah.
what they're growing and stuff. But you have to know that you can do what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. The number of times I see my neighbors who have just arrived, saying, "I'm gonna get a pig. I'm so excited." Like, actually, not allowed.
They better
No,
check
no,
city ordinance.
no pigs, no peacocks, no emus. Yeah. And they're like,
Yeah.
"What?" Like, I know, I know. Yeah, exactly. And it would be great. The website could be updated to have those files so that people can look.
Yeah.
And if anybody is asking on Facebook, you just show them the link to the website and they
Yep.
can find it. There's just some things where that could reduce the load of all the calls that are coming into the city as
Right.
well, just having
And I
those
think some of
resources
that,
available.
yeah, I think they are, because they in 2023 they're revamping the ordinances, the city ordinances,
Mm-hmm.
and the zoning laws and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I haven't followed up enough on that to know where they're at, but they had hired a company to come in and rewrite everything and to add whatever they wanted to have added and then make it available online.
Okay.
That was the goal.
Yeah.
And so I know they're working towards these things,
Yeah.
but I do feel like it's not as like I was saying, communication to me should be like a priority.
Yeah.
And it's not as prioritized it seems because that was in 2023 and from what I remember it was only going to be like 6 months or something like that, and it should have been done. And I think last time I was on and looked at ordinances, it was still the ordinances from the 90s.
So they did update at least some of the city ordinances in
Okay.
2022. It was brand new when we arrived.
Okay.
And I know because Cameron was like, actually, we just printed out this reference sheet, but it's brand new. I don't even have it memorized. And so he went and grabbed it for me. And so that's what I'm
Yeah.
going off of, saying that no pigs, no
Sure.
peacocks. But yeah, there's obviously going to be broader spectrum ordinances that could be addressed in there as well and be posted that would
Yeah.
just help everybody understand what's going on. Yeah.
So, in your perspective, then,
Mm-hmm.
what do you feel like is the job of a city councilman? And I know, like, each councilman has a different job because some are over power and some are over roads and things like that. But I just mean, in general, what is your perspective of the job of a councilman?
I'm guessing that in larger cities, it's probably somewhat different. I am learning that I think most people have no clue what the city council does. So I'll just touch on it, even though you probably do know. But so our city council meets once per month unless there's a special issue that needs to be addressed. And my understanding is they will listen and debate about whatever policy legislation, maybe city contracts, maybe city appointees that are, in question, and then everybody gets a vote. So, if I get elected city councilwoman, I don't just have unilateral power to start making sweeping changes. I get one vote.
Out of 5.
Out of 5, yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm sure everybody communicates with each other and discusses things even outside of council session. And so they may try to make their case, but ultimately you get a vote and then you get jobs as well. Like you said, some people are going to be over events. Everybody pools together for big holidays, the 24th of July. It's kind of all hands on deck that week. But like Shirlene has been handling the Easter celebrations, the Easter egg hunts, and different council members will focus on different areas. And my understanding is their jobs are somewhat fluid. So typically the mayor will ask, does anyone have particular expertise in this area? Or he'll just say, I need you to handle this,
Yeah.
And so he kind of appoints jobs as they are needing to be met. Some of them are obviously more highly trained, power and water systems. but others are more voluntary.
Yeah.
Mike McKay handles the Fairview Focus, and he really picks up a lot of slack
Day
just
to
with,
day stuff.
yeah,
He spends a lot of
he
time
does
in the
a
city on it.
lot, yeah. Um, and and there's some council members personality wise that are more hands off and some that are just really engaged. So,
Yeah.
newsflash, if I was there, I would be really engaged. But that's just my personality. Um, for better or for worse, yeah,
Yeah.
that is who I am. So,
Great.
yeah.
Where do you see Fairview in 5 years?
Well, I guess going back to, other things we've touched on, my hope is to try and hold the hand of the growth in a way that feels like we're moving in a positive direction together. I would really like to see foundations for unity.
Yeah.
Listening to all of the elders talk about things that used to be done. They had weekly dances. They had these community enriching events that brought everyone together, not just one church ward, not
Yeah.
just one demographic. It was all ages. It was the whole community. And I think the way that we survive the evolution that we are going to naturally face is to build that rock solid connection together
Mhm.
and knowing everybody's name, and being invested in our neighbors, caring about their opinions and their feelings, and being thoughtful about not fighting on Facebook and just hiding behind our screens, but actually
Yeah.
meeting in person and developing real relationships with each
Mhm.
other. That's important to me. So I guess if I were to see where Fairview is in 5 years, it's sort of a combination of moving forward and moving backwards.
Well,
um,
in my opinion,
yeah,
but they're both moving forward.
yeah, yeah,
We've moved backwards already,
yeah.
and we need to move forward again. But it's all perspective.
When I say moving backwards, I mean back to a time when people were just naturally more involved with each other
Yeah.
and they were more connected. The thing that I love about Fairview is when someone is in a crisis, everybody shows up in mass to support them.
Yeah.
Whether it's, my neighbor was in a car accident and I was looking after her kids and I was getting overwhelmed, and friends said, we have Relief Society, they could help you. And I said, well, I don't know what they do, but she needs
Relief sounds great.
somebody to talk to the doctors and advocate for her. Somebody needs to clean her house. Somebody needs to drive her. Somebody needs to pick up groceries. And it was like a flock of women just showed up and helped me
Hmm.
with everything. That blew my mind. I know for everybody who's from Fairview, who's grown up in the church, they're like, that's just how
Yeah,
we do it. But
that's
for
just normal
me,
life, but I get it.
that was amazing. That was absolutely one of the most beautiful things. Whether it's showing up with food, or cleaning someone's house that's just had a baby, it's just, that's what is really special about this
Hmm.
town. I found a homeless family a couple years back, and through Facebook and the community, we got them housed, we got them clothed, we got the kids in school, we got them doctors, we got them phones, we got everything set up,
Sweet.
jobs, and changed the course of their life.
Yeah.
And that wasn't just me, that was a massive movement that started because this community cares, and
Yeah.
in a way that I haven't really seen elsewhere. They really show up. And so I think having those ways that we can foster closer bonds that lead to genuine caring is
Mm.
an understanding of each other's. We all have stuff that's hard. It's constant, it's life.
Yeah.
And so knowing each other, actually knowing each other in real life is really important.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we look at technology and say, well, I can talk to anybody whenever I want, and I talk to people online all the time. I post things, I like
Yeah.
pictures and stuff, and everyone assumes that's personal connection, and it's not. Personal connection is being with somebody and face to face.
Yeah.
Seeing the whites of their eyes, It needs to be done. You know, you need to have that. It needs to be a part of your life. It needs to be part of their life.
Yeah. And obviously, we need healthy, wholesome activities for our children. But I really do believe in intergenerational connection as well. I think it's when you start divvying up just the seniors, just the children, just the moms, that can get disjointed and kind of wind up working against you. So,
like, it's good every now and again, but I completely agree. I think youth need to be involved with elderly people, with parents, people, with people that are in their 20s. You know, like, the whole thing is what makes life beautiful, and it helps immensely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, that's great. So, do you have any plans of where do you see you in 5 years? Like, you plan on going anywhere, or?
No, no, we're here for the long haul. You know, whether I am elected or not, I will continue doing what I'm doing. I'm going to be actively engaged in the community, doing events and hopefully improving the farmers market and continuing to build our farm and hopefully starting our soil business. And I do hope, whether I win this time or not, to serve at some point on the council and be more involved with our local government.
Awesome.
But no, I think this is home. I mean, we have invested far too. Yeah.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, this has been really great. I really appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me, Morgan.
Yeah, anytime.